Well, hello again. I'm Merle Denbath, your conch economist. And it's that time of year where we look back on the last 12 months, 2025, and look ahead to the next 12 months, 2026. 2025, on balance, was a good year. The stock market went up, the economy moved forward. And unfortunately, a lot of people were left standing still economically because wages did not keep up with past and current inflation. The Federal Reserve, all through the period of last year, well, up until maybe the last quarter, kept rates that were too low to fight inflation, but too high to help the housing market. And so, consequently, we didn't solve the inflation problem. The Fed kept talking about a 2% rate of inflation, but it was lip service. They never really did much about it. Then there were some cuts in the federal funds rate, and we anticipate that to go on into next year. Um, Apparently, there's going to be now a new approach to economic policy. The Federal Reserve is going to concentrate on lowering rates. That's good. That'll help housing and will help to keep the economy going. And the president is assuming more responsibility for inflation. He's been jawboning and meeting with executives and so forth of corporations, and there's certainly plenty of work to be done there. But and looking back over the last 12 months, the economy did well, and the stock market did too. And so now it's time to look ahead to the year 2026. And most of the prognosticators are indicating a good year for the economy and for the stock market. And I'm not in a position to really challenge too much of that, but I am going to raise some points of concern that I think are important from an individual point of view. And so, looking ahead, there are some things that we know, and there's some things that we don't know, and then, of course, there's things that we don't know that we don't know, and those are the so-called black swan events, things that are just totally unpredictable. But what do we know about 2026? Well, first of all, early in the year here, apparently people are going to be blessed with maybe larger than normal expected tax refunds because of provisions in the big beautiful bill. And from this point forward, apparently there's going to be some reductions in amount that is withheld from paychecks. And this is important because one of the problems has been in the past that people's wages have take home pay has not kept up with prices. And if we're going to see a successful approach to the inflation problem, we've got to see wages go up faster than inflation. In other words, there's an increase in what we call real wages. Keep in mind that the tax refunds are going to be a one-time event, a good time to pay down debt on your credit card if you have it, or a good time to add to savings. It's never a bad time to add to the savings situation. So that's the first thing we know. We know there's going to be some more beneficial tax provisions here for a great majority of. Now, something else that can come up in early January possibly is another government shutdown. It's unfortunate, but I don't know why we have to go through these terrible events. But apparently, from what I'm picking up in the press, uh, there's trouble between the Democrats and the Republicans on this issue, and the Democrats are perfectly willing to see the government shut down again, and hopefully that can be avoided. But that would be a negative on the economy, at least in the early part of the year. Um, our continuing challenge is to find a way to keep both the individual as well as the economy moving forward. In the past, the economy has moved forward, but a lot of people have been left standing still economically. The way that we solve that problem is to roll an increase in real income. Um, Another thing that we know that's going to be coming next year, there is going to be a new Federal Reserve chairman, and there's no doubt in my mind the president is going to appoint somebody who wants to lower rates. Now, please keep in mind that they will lower rates, but these are going to be the federal funds rates and the discount rate. These are short-term rates, and what are they going to impact? Well, if you're a bank borrowing from the Fed, it's going to lower the rate there. It'll lower some other short-term rates in the economy, short-term CDs and so forth. It'll certainly have an impact maybe on savings accounts, which is not good because you want to have a higher savings rate, not a lower savings rate. But the the link between what the Fed does and what mortgage rates will do is a long road, because mortgage rates are tied into the 10-year bond. And as I speak right now, I checked, and the 10-year bond right now is about 4.10%, 4.15%, right in there. And the 30-year fixed rate is about 6.2%. Historically, there has been a little over 2 point difference between the two. I don't anticipate this changing, but as we go into 2026 and we look for maybe an improvement in housing, we're going to have to keep an eye on that 10-year. There's no way that we're going to be able to see a 5% mortgage rate while the 10-year bond is, say, over 4%. The 10-year bond is going to have to drop also. And because of the level of our debt and the tremendous demand for borrowed funds, not only by the national government, but by local governments and corporations and individuals, there's a tremendous demand for borrowed funds that keeps rates higher. And specifically because fewer foreign governments are now buying U.S. treasuries as opposed to previous times. There was a time when 40 to 50% of our debt was owned by foreign governments or foreigners. Now only about 15% of the new debt is being purchased by foreigners. So this puts a heavier demand on our own domestic markets, which means it helps to bid up prices of borrowed funds. And when we bid up the price of borrowed funds, we're talking about higher interest rates. So are we going to see lower short-term rates next year? Yes, that's no doubt about it. We're going to see that. But as far as the mortgage rates are concerned, that's a different matter altogether. There are reports that President Trump is going to meet with the leader of China, and maybe in Washington, or maybe in China, or maybe both. This may be positive for international relations. It may be positive for our trade relations with China. That remains to be seen. That's one of the things that we don't know as to what's going to happen there. But that apparently is in the works. Probably one of the big events for next year is going to be the fall elections. And historically, the party in power has sometimes lost seats in the Congress in these midterm elections. The Republican majority right now in the House, as you know, is very, very thin. So it wouldn't take much for the Democrats to take over. And if the Democrats get in control of the House, you can be assured that there will be an effort to probably impeach the president, which is going to be creating more political turmoil. So between the problems that we're going to be facing here, maybe in January or February regarding the government shutdown, and then the problems there in the fall, there's going to be a lot of political turmoil in the year, and that in turn can have an impact, a negative impact to be sure, on the economy. But we anticipate a good year, and maybe it's going to be a year that you can think about buying that house that you've been looking for. I'm going to have a program in the near future on some ideas on buying a house for next year, because the housing situation for a vast number of people has been very challenging. And it may be that with just a slight drop in mortgage rates next year, we can see some improvement there. The most recent housing reports that I saw was that the housing market has picked up. There has been more buying and selling going on, and this is good. This encourages more supply maybe coming on the market, and may be helpful to buyers. But I'm going to have a program soon addressing specifically the role of the buyer here, and what a buyer can do to help accomplish the task of home ownership. So Happy New Year to all of you, and I hope we appreciate your support and subscriptions, and always welcome your feedback, and would like to hear from you on some ideas of programs that you would like to see me address. So Happy New Year, and I'll see you next week.